From a sharecropper's son to an esteemed baseball coach for Southern University, a road that was potholed with poverty, racism, and pain. These obstacles should have kept him from the top of his game. Instead, he fought back with everything he had and won. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope against all odds chronicles the life of legendary head coach Roger Cador, the 14-time SWAC champion with 11 NCAA regional appearances. He's a member of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. He's a member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. He's a prestigious inductee into the Southern University Hall of Fame. And now, he's a distinguished member of the College Baseball Hall of Fame. Purchased today, Against All Odds. Against All Odds can be purchased on Amazon, Audible, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and Google Play.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
All right, everybody, welcome for another episode of Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Of course, I'm Perry White. He's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Roger Cador. We sitting here just having a funny conversation off camera, but Coach, here we are. We back for another episode, couple weeks off. How you been, man?
Doing pretty good, and yourself?
I'm doing well, man. We are in the thick of the summertime. It is June. It's heating up out there.
It hadn't been that hot to me.
Uh-huh. Because you've been inside in that AC?
Well, it's just we've had really good days. When it's hot, it rain and cool things off. So I'm really good with the days we do have.
Yeah.
And try not to complain as much as I used to.
Hey, we ain't gonna do no complaining. We just, as Miss Glenda Rutledge used to tell me, just keep waking up.
That's right.
You know, so. But other than that, man, as we get through June, what's been on your schedule? How's things? You know, what's the life of Roger Cador? The people out there want to know.
It's not that important for all those people. We've got, we're down to 1 month, the Swingman Classic.
Uh-huh.
We've been tying all the pieces together to get it going, and we pretty much got the team selected. So the teams, not rather, because there'll be an east and a west or a north and the south. And so we got all of that in place, and I mean, we've been working hard trying to make it happen.
And for everybody out there, the Swingman Classic is a classic game of HBCU baseball players, the all-star players, particularly from the SWAC and where else? So are we doing MEAC? Well, MEAC kind of doesn't have baseball, so you're getting black college players from around those MEAC teams. But you're getting those guys together, and for the third consecutive year, they're hosting this all-star game during MLB All-Star Weekend. The first year when you guys got this thing kicked off, it was up in Seattle, Washington. Last year, it was over in Dallas. And this year, it'll be in Atlanta. So as you continue to see this thing kicked off and going, I remember when this was just an idea, you and I were talking about it, and you were describing how it was sitting at the table to get MLB to buy into it, to understand the importance of it. But the biggest thing is showcasing the baseball players, the top talent from HBCUs, making sure they get that opportunity for the spotlight. And for you now looking at this thing going into year 3, man, just remembering the idea and the conversation sitting at the table, for you, how does it feel to see this continuously grow and move forward into the future?
It's done a good job of growing, thanks to the commissioner's office and Tony Regan, the executive vice president. out of the commissioner's office. They've been really graceful to make this thing happen, and you know, buying into it because they're putting a lot of money, bringing bands in. I mean, so it's not a drop in the bucket. It's a lot of money, but they're committed to it, and that's what I like. The commitment is there to showcase this and try to give people an idea of the best that HBCU has to offer as it relates to culturally and baseball.
And as you're talking about relating it to the baseball, you guys have selected the team, so I'm pretty sure you've been looking at a lot of talent, looking and reviewing over a lot of guys. What are you seeing about the talent nowadays in HBCU baseball with what you've seen as you've evaluated these guys?
Well, you know, I'm a realist. The talent is not what it used to be, and but we're taking the best that they have to offer, and that's all that matters. You got me? We all know it's not the best. It's not the same. You will be lying if you sit here and say that. But we are going to find some decent players, and they're going to go out there and perform. And maybe one or two or three might get drafted, picked up. You never know. We've had, in the 2 years, we've had about 6 kids signed. So we've done well. That got overlooked. You got me?
Let me ask you this. When you say the talent is not the same, you've been around a long time. You're legendary in this realm. That's why you're a college baseball Hall of Fame. You know exactly what it is you're looking at and how to develop and coach what you're looking at. But when you say the talent has changed, how have we seen the talent change compared to the days of you getting started at Southern and having a dynasty compared to just the years since you stepped back into another role and looking at what this future is and what it looks like for the SWAC?
Well, I mean, you know, it starts with the product. You know, it's hard to make something out of nothing, and but the product is not the same, and so the coaches are doing a decent job of developing what they have. We've got to also admit, Perry, and again, maybe criticizing. They just don't have the same amount of coaches. You know, the coaches ain't the same.
Bert, what does that mean? Like, for people out there, it may make sense to you in your mind, but for people out there who don't, you know, it may not make sense. So when you say they're not the same, what does that mean?
And I'm going to give them, they're going to get a pass from me because travel ball have screwed up everything.
Yeah.
There is no teaching. By the time the coaches take these jobs, they don't give them a qualifier system, and they got to teach. You can't teach what hadn't been taught. And so that's what they're really in a trick bag, you got me? So when I think about it, I think that's why I say I'm going to give them a pass because they're taking kids coming out of travel ball who aren't being taught nothing either. They ain't being taught a lot in high school. Now you get them in college, and you expect to make everything happen overnight, and it's not going to happen. And that's one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing. We're hopeful that late development kick in with a few kids who've been under taught, and they get better in college, and we can get them and give them a chance in the pro league, or they have a pro league or MLB Pro League that they do in the summertime too. So we'll send some of them there and see if we can get them better.
Looking at coaching today compared to coaching in your time, what were some of the things, because like you're talking about, fundamentals seem to be guys came in with at least some sound fundamental. Today, it's, I guess as you're evaluating guys, you're seeing a lack of fundamentals, huh?
No, lack of it because travel ball, remember, they're tricking the parents, those guys, to get them to pay that money. They don't bunt. They don't work on fielding. All they work on one thing, hitting. How far can you hit it? See how far you can hit it. That's the only thing they work on. And the pitcher, how hard can you throw? Let's see how hard you could throw. Those two things that they work on. You don't see no fundamental being taught, no running, no. I mean, I get a little sick when I see it.
Yeah.
But because the parents are gullible, they don't know better. And then they come and ask someone like me who have no more input into the game the way I used to. How can you help my son get drafted? It's sad. It's just sad. And so, it's no telling what these coaches are telling these parents. If your son do this, he probably will be drafted. To make that money, keep the money flowing. You got me? I mean, I'm just angry. I was in Vero Beach, Florida, last year. It's a white kid from Indiana. Good-sized looking white kid, about 6'3", 220. And I was intrigued with his size, so I went and talked to him and his parents. And the daddy had hired a hitting coach who was once a hitting coach in the big league. Then there was a hit man. I'm not going to say no more than that. Don't want to give him away. He was a hitting coach. I said, now, when I talked with the dad and asked him what he was teaching, I said, man, your son is big and strong, and he's fighting the ball like he's a 5'4" little guy. What's going on here? Man, this is what he's teaching them. We're so pleased with this. And I don't want no one else working with him because we got it. I said, you got to be kidding me. Man, he's got that major league experience. Say he may have it, but he ain't teaching it to your son. And it was sad what I saw. It was just sad, to be honest. But he said he wanted to be able to tell his friends that his son is working with a former big league hitting coach. And that's sad. And he said, I don't mind paying the money. It's costing us a lot, but I don't mind paying it. The poor wife was over there, and she said, I know you don't. I had to go get another job. That's what the wife said. But this is the foolishness. And it's good that I'm able to, I want to share it, and I'm hoping that there are some gullible parents who are a step away from being gullible. Don't get caught up in that. Those travel ball coaches, they're not your answer. They're not your answer. That's the best I can say.
Is the game of baseball overall, when you look at just talent, is it in jeopardy due to the lack of the fundamentals being taught? Because it's like steps are being skipped in order to just have to find success, but eventually do those skipped steps catch up to you?
No, and it will on some players.
Yeah.
The talented kids will matriculate and move forward.
But for the average kid that's out there, that fundamental has to be instilled in order for them to have some type of longevity from T-ball to Little League to getting into whatever it is you're talking about, travel ball, even eventually playing for high schools and whatever else. They need that sound fundamental part of the game in order to at least have some success, and not saying taking it to the next level of college, but within that realm that they're in.
Yeah, you got to have it starting at a young age, and got to have good coaching. And once you have good coaching and teaching them fundamental, a lot of kids can develop and get better and develop a love for the game. Baseball is so loaded with failure, and you got a bad coach. And I probably can understand why they only let them hit. They don't want to teach the other thing because kids get frustrated, you got me? So that no kids want to hit, right?
Yeah.
Let them swing, hit. That's what they do.
I almost try not to scare them away from the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's those who are not good coaches. The ones who are coaches, really good coaches, want to bring them into and teach them the fundamentals because they know that's the only way they're going to survive in this game anyway. They don't survive those travel ball coaches who just let them hit and throw hard. None of those people survive.
In your days of growing up and coming into learning what baseball meant for you and how to play the game, what was taught to you at the age of when baseball became something that you realized you were good at and could do it?
Nobody want to be like me and do what I did. Don't want to. I started playing baseball when I was 14 years old. That's not going to happen today.
But what was that like? What was that curve to beat that learning curve and to grow into it? What was the early years of learning the game for you like?
Okay, you're talking about 14.
Yeah.
Uh,
14 and as you grew
yeah,
and
right,
evolved
yeah.
into the game. Because obviously you were pretty damn good at it.
Well, I got to, an older gentleman came and asked my mother could he take me to play with his team, and she didn't want to, let it go. Finally, some kind of way, they talked to my daddy, and he said, okay, fine, let him go. And I went on and played and did pretty good. I had never, but my family were good baseball players.
Really?
Yeah, they were good baseball players in the family, and they took for granted that I was. But I had never played. I was playing a little, I had just started playing basketball. Remember, everything started late in life for me, very late. You know, so that's why I say I don't want nobody else to go through what I did, because they'll give up. And so I started, then went out to the high school team and made it, and we could pretty much say the rest is history.
Did it seem, because you said your family was good at baseball, did it kind of come natural, or was it something that was kind of like, why I can't get it? You know, because sometimes frustration lies within trying to learn something and gain interest in it, and if you can't really quite get it, frustration lies upon it and kind of psychs you out. But for you, did it seem kind of natural leading into becoming better and better?
And those older guys made the game fun. It was fun. It was a day. Remember, it was work 6 days a week and then baseball on Sunday. So I took advantage of it to make it fun. There wasn't no fun no other days. You got so I had to, and that was my outlet. And you know, the way you make it sound, I could understand why you guys are frustrated, girls are frustrated. That wasn't a case in my. Did it come easy? Did it just came? I don't know.
You know, sometimes things happen naturally. Like it's like, dang, the more he plays, the better he's getting. Other people, it's like, well, we just got to keep working on him. Just keep working with him. Just keep working with him. But for others, it's like, hey, he's just getting better by the day. Let's just let him keep doing his thing.
And I did it, you know. I kept getting better, and I didn't know how. Pretty much, I was a lot better pro player than I was in college or high school. Obviously, I got better in college, but I was a really good pro player. Because I was doing it every day, being taught by some of the best, and more repetition. You know what I'm saying? Then everything was falling into place.
And that was going to be my next thing, because you started at 14, you go out and play high school ball, and like you said, you had a late start. So then when you get to college and you talk about your coach in college often, you know, that's another level compared to playing high school ball. Now you on the collegiate side of things. What was that like to even learn even more into the game and the processing of the fundamentals?
I tell you what, I didn't learn nothing in college. And again, a lot of people would say, why is he saying it? Why can't I tell the truth?
Tell the truth, Coach.
Why would you want to beat me up for telling the truth? I learned nothing. I went in the first year, we blew everybody out down there. The coach gave me 2 at-bats. Guess when I got the at-bats?
When?
In the playoff to go to Phoenix, Arizona. In the regional, I got that's the only 2 times. You don't play me all year, you stick me in there in the playoff? Fortunate for me. I battle. The coach said, you beat that out, but they call you out. Don't worry, you stay ready. Tomorrow you'll get a chance again. Same situation. 10 innings the next day. Fought, bam, base hit. And that was history. That was it. The wheels turned, and I got better.
Let's take it from there and then take it to being a professional no longer an amateur, but then on the professional side, now it is a job. It's not just a sport to play at school. You're not just a student athlete. You are now a professional. This is what you do. Whole nother way to take the game serious once you reach that level.
And didn't have to play basketball. Because I spent no time playing baseball. Remember, I was on basketball scholarship. Was playing basketball. And I got the few at-bats I had. Didn't practice never in the fall. Because what? We practice in basketball in the fall.
Yep.
And so the 20, 30 at-bats, or maybe 40 at-bats I got in the springtime, that was about it. Remember, I played for a coach who only believed in you get 5 swings. You think about it, 5 swings a day.
Ain't much practice in there.
How can you learn anything? Well, it all goes back. Lou Brock messed everything up.
What happened?
He was a walk-on and he gave him 5 swings. And he hit a couple of them at the park. So at that point, everybody could only get 5 swings. No, that's really, and Lou have told the story many times. Said he was so hungry, he hadn't eaten, and he was a walk-on, and he fell out, overheated, and then he said they felt sorry for him. They said, let the lad swing. That's what they used to call us back then, lads. Let the lad swing. Bam, he hit a couple out. The rest is history. Say, y'all give that lad a meal ticket.
On the professional side, what was the biggest adjustment that you had to go through learning the game now as a professional?
Well, you had to do everything. You had to learn from running, base running, hitting cutoff man. Have to learn to run properly. You had to learn to play which I was an outfielder. Had to learn to play all 3 outfield positions. And just know your teammates. Know what you do on certain things. You had to know the game. The game is more than just throwing and hitting and running. You got to know on certain plays, in certain situations, there are certain things has to be done. And you have to keep the double play in order. So if it's a man on first and third, and the guy gets a hit to right field, you got to keep that man from second, on second, not go to third. So you want to keep the double play in order. So you got to flip to second to first, double play. So, you know, that was one of the things we had to learn. The terminology that I didn't learn in college.
Like, well, give me some terminology.
Baseball terminology. You know, one is hit and run. There's no nothing but hit and run. Signs, there was no signs. You know, you had to learn the signs and what could happen in this situation. What would you do if you were there? You know, if you were in that situation, what would you do? All of those little things started coming up that I'd never been taught. And now I had to get on the fast track to try and learn them and do them because they weren't going to let you make too many mistakes in the pros and keep you around.
Could you tell at some point it was getting overwhelming for some guys who may have come in and
It was, not me, it was.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you had this little book here, and now the book is like this. It's a lot you have to learn. You may not ever use them, but you need to know them.
Yeah. And you can see the frustration upon those guys as your coach, as you say, in what they do on their side, coaching you up. But coaching you up comes sometimes with a little harshness because I need you to learn these things in order to get better.
Remember, back when I played, they had a bunch of non-educated white coaches, the coaches, who obviously hadn't dealt much with blacks. And we had more blacks than anybody else in the Brave organization. But the point is, the guys who were coaching, they ain't never dealt with black people before hardly, you know what I'm saying?
So they had very low, thin patience with you guys.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You know, and it probably didn't teach us everything they could have, you got me? you know, they'll find out who the organization was pushing and put a little more time into nourishing that boy. The Brave wants him to move fast. Let's help him. You got me?
All right, let's get ready to take a break. Everybody, we'll be back with more Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Grab your popcorn and your something to drink and use the bathroom. We'll be right back.
Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights. Gravitate towards something out of this world. Even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. Brack, we're more than a playground.
Cats down by 58 with 1 minute left.
Hey, where's everybody going? This game's not over, so we're not the best. Our kicker stubbed his toe on the ball, and pretty sure our mascot has his costume on backwards. But this is our team. No matter what.
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador, Against All Odds. Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against All Odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against All Odds. Get yours today by Cador and Cador Publishing. You are now watching Chopping It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, everybody, we're back. More Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Of course, I am Perry White. He is Roger Cador, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Coach, why are you looking like you don't know who Roger Cador is? You know who Roger Cador is. Who is Roger Cador?
He's Roger Cador.
Is that when you walk into the rooms and you say, "Hi, I'm Roger Cador"? Is that how you do it?
It depends.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it's been a little interesting in the super regional.
Yeah.
You know, you got a couple of schools that the SEC struggle to get 2 teams in. They got 2 in, right?
Yep. SEC came into regional play with 13 teams. 8 of those teams hosted actually during the regionals. And then you come out of the regionals and a lot of those teams didn't get out, like a Georgia. Georgia was one of those teams who hosted and didn't make it out. Texas losing to UTSA did not make it out. You look at like Oklahoma, did not make it out. Even Alabama going over to Hattiesburg over in the Southern Miss Regional and lost 2 straight games to come out. But then you had a team like Auburn who hosted. Then they took on Coastal Carolina in the Super Regional. You had LSU who made it through the Super Regional. Then they ended up taking on West Virginia. Arkansas and Tennessee were 2 teams who both hosted regionals and then had to see each other in the Super Regional. The SEC started to dwindle. We had a lot of people saying, well, the SEC is the best conference, baseball conference, period, in the nation coming out of the regular season. And then Vanderbilt goes and wins the SEC tournament, baseball tournament, and then gets put out in the regional. So now here we are down to just 2 teams, Arkansas and LSU, headed into the College Baseball World Series in Omaha. And guess what? They have to play each other opening it up. You know, it's like they're constantly pitting the SEC, but unfortunately the SEC, just as much as it flexed its muscles in the regular season, things kind of fell apart as they got into postseason play.
The matchmakers, the people who put the brackets together, they had already figured out we're going to bundle the SEC, so we're not going to have all 4 teams in the College World Series from the SEC. You got me? So we're going to have to make them knock each other off at some point. If somebody's sneaking, we got to make sure. And I thought they did a good job of that. It's not good if one league is playing for the national championship with 64 teams. You got me? Yeah, so they did a good job. I'm going to give them kudos for it because they've not always done a good job, but they did a good job making sure that the league that is the strongest had to knock some of its competitors off to get in, you know.
And as the league has expanded, and particularly the SEC, you bring in Texas and Oklahoma this year. In the past, you brought in Missouri and Texas A&M. You started to see a lot more investment into those baseball programs more than what you saw before. And let's look at some of these regional games. Let's take Vanderbilt up in the Nashville region. You have Vanderbilt, who was the #1 seed nationally, overall #1 team, taking on Louisville, East Tennessee State, and Wright State. East Tennessee State, you know, was a team, one of the best hitting teams in the nation. And as Tennessee came into conference play, East Tennessee handed them their first loss on the season. And then here you have Louisville comes out of that regional. Did you get a chance to watch any of those games out of the Nashville regional with Vanderbilt?
I saw some in the Louisville team play on a couple of occasions. I didn't watch much of Vandy. I didn't. But I thought Murray State did a really good job. They pitched, they competed, and they had a chance. It went right down to it, you know. So it's good. It's good to see East Texas State University over there from
UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio. Yep.
Yeah, it's good to see them. Wright State, Arkansas, Little Rock. It's good to see all those teams play with the big boys.
And I'll go through some of these. You had Southern Miss over in Hattiesburg. Southern Miss, one of the better teams coming out of the Sun Belt Conference. They actually hosted a regional, and you know all too well, you've been over to Hattiesburg taking your team over for a regional. They hosted Alabama, Miami, and Columbia. How about Miami, the 3 seed coming out of there? They knocked out Alabama and ultimately won there. Florida State over in Tallahassee. This is where the SWAC's winner went to. You have Florida State, Northeastern. How about Northeastern, who had cracked the top 25 towards the end of the season? Mississippi State coming out of the SEC, and Bethune-Cookman. You had a chance to cover Bethune-Cookman over in the SWAC tournament, and Bethune-Cookman won off a walk-off to win the SWAC baseball tournament over Florida A&M. Really good program when you look at Bethune-Cookman.
A scout called me and said they had a chance to win. They got caught up. They got caught up in what I always used to tell my players, don't get caught up. Play straight baseball. They got caught up trying to pick someone off, threw the ball away. That's not how you're going to win games, guys. Play straight baseball. You know, and it was one of them, guy went to some clinic, and some fancy talking coach talked about something, and he thought he could bring it. Give it to his players. Use it in a crucial situation. When you're in a crucial situation, you never want to try and have your players execute something that they rarely work on.
Right.
Why would you do that? And that's what I see. It happens quite often. People get caught up, try to have those players execute something you rarely work on.
Yeah.
Stay with the fundamental, straight baseball, something they do every day. Bam.
Over in Corvallis, you had Oregon State hosting TCU, USC, and St. Mary's. I was a little surprised watching St. Mary's. They've really improved in a baseball program. Oregon State wins that regional. North Carolina hosting Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Holy Cross. North Carolina finds a way to get it done. Oklahoma made a scare for them, though, but North Carolina moved on. In Eugene, Oregon, you had the Oregon Ducks hosting Arizona, Cal Poly, and Utah Valley. Arizona ends up as the 2 seed winning that one. Coastal Carolina, one of the hottest teams in the nation right now, hosted Florida, East Carolina, and Fairfield. Coastal Carolina, of course, closed it out and moved on. How about over in Auburn? You had Auburn, North Carolina State. You had Stetson and Central Connecticut State. Auburn moves on to win that one. Over in Austin, Texas, one of the toughest places to play this year, as Texas looked like one of the better teams all year. They had UTSA, Kansas State, and Houston Christian. How about UTSA knocking off Texas 3 times this year? Seems to be their kryptonite. Then you had UCLA over in Pasadena hosting UC Irvine, who's another team who's been really good this year, and a lot of people felt got snubbed out of hosting the game. UC Irvine was the 2 seed, Arizona State and Fresno State. UCLA holds on to win that regional. How about Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Western Kentucky, and Murray State? Ole Miss, the favorite coming out of there. Of course, they made it to the SEC Tournament Championship against Vanderbilt. Murray State ends up winning that one over in Oxford. Then you have Georgia over in Athens hosting with Duke. Oklahoma State and Binghamton is a team that's in there, and Duke finds a way to get it done. And then you move on to right here in Baton Rouge, LSU hosting Dallas Baptist, Rhode Island, and the University of Arkansas Little Rock, the Trojans. LSU in a tough one. Euler gave LSU everything they can have. LSU ends up moving on to the Super Regional. And then over in Clemson, you had Clemson hosting West Virginia, Kentucky, and University of South Carolina upstate. West Virginia goes in and upset Clemson, who has been one of the teams hovering around the top 5 all year. Tennessee hosting over in Knoxville, Tennessee, Wake Forest, Cincinnati, and Miami, Ohio. Tennessee, the defending national champions, do what they did. They ended up winning the regional. And then last but not least, the Arkansas Razorbacks, Coach Van Horn hosting Kansas, Creighton, and North Dakota State. The Razorbacks moved on. Talking about these smaller teams, as you talked about a East Tennessee, a Wright State, a Euler, University of Arkansas, Little Rock, looking at a Murray State. What's your thoughts at those small programs as they building up those programs on those national stages?
I'm not going to call them small programs. I'm going to call them programs that don't have a lot of money to get all of the things that the top 5 big programs are getting. Because baseball is predicated on a different thing that football and basketball is. Because the sport is different. The dynamic of the sport is that you could hit all line drive, hit them right at people, and you make an out. You can hit all blooper and they fall in, and you beat people. That don't happen in football. Don't happen in basketball.
Bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah, they go always beat you. So baseball is quite different. And that it proves it over and over again, that programs that don't have all of the revenue can compete if they can get in the right situation. You got me? They make the plays. The key is now you have to make the plays and create some opportunity. Because it's all, the thing I used to tell my players, baseball is, there are 2 things if you're going to be successful. If you do those 2 things, you're gonna win. You gotta make outs. The game is predicated based on outs. You make all your outs, they can't score. Then you score runs. Don't have to score a lot, but score some runs. If you make all the outs and score some runs, you're gonna win a bunch of games. Because teams historically are gonna give. They're gonna be in a good giving mode. They'll give you something. So I used to tell them that all the time. We could win, boys. They'll give us something, but we can't give anything. We got to be a little selfish. So it's a beautiful game. I don't know if William Doubleday invented it. They probably lied, like they lied about so many other things about America. So they probably lied about it. I'm not buying it.
You ain't buying it?
I ain't buying it. Damn it, they lied. They lied about Christopher Columbus discovered America. That's a lie.
Yeah. Well, let's get ready to buy this. We got to buy some airtime, buy some commercials, Coach. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. More Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Cats down by 58 with 1 minute left.
Hey, where's everybody going? This game's not over. So we're not the best. Our kicker stubbed his toe on the ball, and pretty sure our mascot has his costume on backwards. But this is our team. No matter what.
Have a passion? We've got the place. Gear up for where the rubber meets the mud, or stir up memories of a lifetime. Reach new heights. Gravitate towards something out of this world. Even travel back in time. You might like a little drama in your life, or get in touch with your inner nature lover. Release some pent-up energy while you're at it. There's plenty to do beyond the swing sets. Breck, we're more than a playground.
Hey, it's Jimmy Ott with ESPN Radio. Both Coach Roger Cador and I have gone to Dr. Dale Police for years for all of our dental needs. Dr. Police uses the latest technology in preventive dental cleaning, digital x-rays and night guards, restorative tooth-colored fillings, porcelain crowns, complete partial dentures. Zoom whitening, you can whiten teeth 10 shades in as little as an hour. Dental emergencies for infections, broken tooth, or restoration when things just go wrong. Most insurance is accepted. Dr. Dale Police and Dr. Larry Oob, available Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., 926-6899, and PoliceDentistry.com.
All right, we're back. More Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Of course, I'm Perry White. Glad to have you guys back with us. And of course, before we went to break, we were talking about teams playing in the regional. But then as we move from the regional, let's look at the super regional, right? A team like Louisville, who was the 2 seed, went into the Vanderbilt regional and were able to walk out and come out of there with a victory. How about Miami coming out of Hattiesburg? The number 3 seed, Miami, comes out and moves on to the super regional. Then you look at a team like Florida State and Oregon State, 2 teams who both were at the top of their seeds in their regional and ended up winning and moved on to the super regional. North Carolina moved on. And then you had Arizona, who was a 2 seed, ultimately getting into the super regional. Coastal Carolina, one of the hottest teams in the country, ended up finding themselves in the super regional, having to take on Auburn. UTSA and UCLA found themselves in the super regional. One of the teams you were talking about, Murray State and Duke, 2 teams that you don't traditionally hear when you talk about the blue bloods of college baseball. LSU and West Virginia in a hell of a super regional. And then Arkansas and Tennessee. Of course, Arkansas was able to get past Tennessee. LSU was able to get past West Virginia in what was a really good super regional. Murray State defeating Duke. Murray State getting the opportunity to move on, coach, to Omaha. You look at UCLA getting past UTSA, and then you go on the other side. How about Louisville and Miami, Florida State, Oregon, North Carolina, Arizona? But let me talk about Murray State.
Okay.
There was something that came out where they showed the team, where they showed the facility, and they were saying how amazing it is because I guess we in this age of, as you talked about, resources.
Right.
Stadium holds about 600 people, and it really baffles people at the fact that the coach still cuts the grass himself.
Yeah, that's right.
So in the whole grand scheme of looking at all these huge name, large resource schools, it almost seemed like it's ancient history to hear a coach saying, I still cut the grass myself at the field.
That's right. I've done that a few times, so I know. So I can appreciate that coach. I mean, he is really a throwback to the way times used to be and things used to be. You know, he would get out there early in the morning, cut it before the sun gets out, and sometimes cut it just before the game, and cut it after the game. Oh, so many things. Mm-hmm. Murray State haven't moved up into the 21st century yet, huh?
Let me ask you, because you at Southern, you found a lot of success at a low-resource institution. You won regional games before, and, I mean, just the idea of what you had to endure at Southern to build a program into having success, you can relate to a lot of these coaches who come from these is quote unquote, I'm not gonna say smaller schools, but low resource institutions. What is that like to find success at a school when you're looking around at the field in the regional and saying, I know these guys have more than us?
I never thought about that because I realized it wasn't the fields that were going to play the game. It was the people we put on the field that were going to play the game. You got me? And I was very confident in my ability to assemble the best players I could to put out there. And in 2003, we almost got to the Super Regional, almost got there. So I've been close, and you know, we had the right kind of players.
What is the toughest thing about getting out of a regional with 4 teams, different seeds, 1 through 4, you being a coach that have been there many times? I mean, how hard is it to get out of a regional to knock on that door to get into a super regional?
You got to have 3 good pitchers. You got to have them. There's no and buts about it. You got to have at least 3 arms you can depend on. 4 or 5 is even better because if you have to go to the bullpen. But 2 starters and a third one that you can maneuver around a little. You got me? You know, because to win, to get to the Super, you got to win 2 games, right? So if you have to play 3, you got to win 3. You got to still win 2. You got to pitch. You got to have arms. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think that's what I saw when I went over to LSU. Of course, I covered the LSU. The Baton Rouge regional had an opportunity to watch Dallas Baptist, who has been a traditional good team. They made it to 11 straight regionals. Then saw a team like Rhode Island had the best season in school history, 50-plus wins, 50 wins on the season. And during that course, they beat Oregon this year. And their coach was just talking about in this age of NIL and so much more, you got to recruit the guys who want to be here. We don't have the bells and the whistles when we look around at LSU, as you call it, the Taj Mahal over there. But that was Rhode Island's coach Ho's spiel that we got guys who want to be here, who are from the area. They make it easier for us to develop because they love the game and they want to be here. And then you listen to a coach like Euler who said, hey, we won our first regional game. We thought that was the best win in school history. Then we won another game, and then that became the best win in school history. Then we upset LSU to force a final game. That was the biggest game in school history. Game after game after game ended up being the biggest game in school history, but at the end of the day, it was just what he had to do to say, we took a chance on guys that everybody else had bagged off of because these guys dealt with injuries earlier in their career. And we finally got them at the point where they were healthy, and this is the product that you get when you believe in those guys and give them an opportunity.
And you're going to have to gamble. You got to take chances. You know, you may not want to be a riverboat gambler, but you might want to gamble. I don't think it's gambling when you're taking a chance on people. I think it's giving opportunity. That's what I call it. Because some people just dying inside. They can't speak it. They're saying, please give me a chance. Give me an opportunity. I'll show you. And I think that's what happened with some of those pitchers at University of Arkansas Little Rock, is that the coach gave them an opportunity.
Gave them an opportunity, and they pushed LSU to the brinks. And right now, let's get ready to take our last break, everybody, and we'll come back on the other side and get ready to close things out. Stay tuned. More of Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Hey, it's Jimmy Ott with ESPN Radio. Both Coach Roger Cador and I have gone to Dr. Dale Police for years for all of our dental needs. Dr. Police uses the latest technology in preventive dental cleaning, digital x-rays and night guards, restorative tooth-colored fillings, porcelain crowns, complete partial dentures. Zoom whitening, you can whiten teeth 10 shades in as little as an hour. Dental emergencies for infections, broken tooth, or restoration when things just go wrong. Most insurance is accepted. Dr. Dale Police and Dr. Larry Oob, available Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., 926-6899, and PolitesDentistry.com.
From a sharecropper's son to an esteemed baseball coach for Southern University, a road that was potholed with poverty, racism, and pain. These obstacles should have kept him from the top of his game. Instead, he fought back with everything he had and won. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope against all odds chronicles the life of legendary head coach Roger Cador, the 14-time SWAC champion with 11 NCAA regional appearances. He's a member of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, the American Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. He's a member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. He's a prestigious inductee into the Southern University Hall of Fame. And now, he's a distinguished member of the College Baseball Hall of Fame. Purchased today, Against All Odds. Against All Odds can be purchased on Amazon, Audible, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, and Google Play.
All right, everybody, we're back. More Choppin' Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. I am Perry White. He is Roger Cador, the man, the myth, the legend, the Hall of Famer, and everything else. As we get ready to wrap up the show today, we're talking about, of course, what's out there. You as a baseball coach, it is college baseball. The World Series is upon us. The teams have been named. We're going to have Arizona versus Coastal Carolina. Louisville matched up against Oregon State. It's going to be Murray State taking on UCLA. And then in the late game, it's going to be LSU taking on Arkansas, Coach. When you look at this, any of the games that you're interested in watching this weekend in terms of the College Baseball World Series?
I'd like to see Murray State playing UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be an upset there.
Oh, yeah.
I think that one right there.
Over the years, when you've seen this, what upsets to you have stood out? Any upsets over the years of watching college baseball and seeing a team and was like, you know what? I understand that team struggles, but to find success, that's all right there.
Well, you know, been a lot of situations. One of the most dramatic things I saw was when Warren Morris hit that home run against Miami to beat Miami.
Mm-hmm.
That was really something. Guy had a hammock injury all year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hand he had to supply the power with.
Mm-hmm.
It's the home run. That will live forever.
Yeah.
In baseball, College World Series. Walk off, you know. There ain't many walk off, but this was a dramatic walk off.
Stays true to your memory.
Yeah, well, and he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Kurt Gissem in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Could barely walk. And Vince Scully calling the shot. He's rolling all the dices. And he rolled the dice. Lasada rolled the dice. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Vince Scully did that, narrated that so wonderful. You know, a guy swung twice, he said, he had one bad leg, now he's got two. Oh, Vince Scully. What? They could, Jack Buck, them guys, Bob Costa, they can put thing in, they can wrap it up for you.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Over all the years, have you been to Omaha for the College Baseball World Series?
I've been to Omaha, not for the World Series.
Okay.
I went. When Ricky was won the Golden Spike, we went there. I mean, I'm not big on I'd rather watch it at home.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I'd rather watch a game at home than go sit among 40,000 people.
Yeah. How was it when you went with Ricky to receive that prestigious award for the Golden Spikes Award?
It was really nice. They treated us really good. People in Omaha was really nice.
You get your Omaha steak?
I got it. Well, they took me to a place, boy, I tell you, the steak was so big.
What it say, as big as my back.
Not thick, but big.
Uh-huh.
And that wasn't, I wouldn't want to go in there because it was an older building, an old building.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, things that are going to keep odor and insects and things that I wouldn't want to eat in it. No.
Yeah.
You got me?
Mm-hmm.
It was, in its days, it probably was all right, but it was outdated. But they had good, the food was good.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing I said, man, I don't know if I want to eat in here. But it was the most popular steakhouse in there.
Yes, sir.
As
we get ready to close things out, Coach, you're talking about the Swingman Classic coming up over in Atlanta. You guys have picked the teams. When are we going to get the announcement for everything?
They said this week, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But sure, by next week. Southern has got a chance to have a couple of kids in there. Thibodeau for sure. Is definitely going to be in there. Maybe Bates, the third baseman. Those two got a good shot.
And you're looking at overall, man, as that thing jump off, what's going to be up for you here as you lead up to the Swingman Classic?
Oh, I've done pretty much all my work. I'll be doing a couple more Zoom calls to tie loose ends together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll, be doing some personal things with some appointments I have here in Baton Rouge. So that's about it.
For you, is it almost like, all right, the build up, we got in here, the Swingman Class, because once it starts, it's going to be rocking and rolling over in Atlanta, because this ought to be a huge year with it being in Atlanta, down in the South, closer to the realm of those SWAC schools.
We got to compete against Beyonce. Beyonce is in town.
I don't know if that's going to really tear into your ticket sales.
That was
though.
I said that to the committee.
Yeah.
Said, who's going to see Beyonce and come and watch these guys play?
No, I mean, it's either you send the wives to go see the daughters and the nieces to see Beyonce, the nephews, the sons, the brothers, and the dads. We're going to watch some MLB All-Star Baseball. How about that? So, other than that, Coach, man, hey, another great episode. Hope everybody out there will enjoy their week as we will as we continue to move forward. College Baseball World Series going on this weekend. I know a lot of people. I'm an Arkansas fan, so I don't care. All y'all out there maybe watching, talking about LSU. I'm pulling for the Razorbacks. So on Saturday night at 6 o'clock, I'm hoping the Razorbacks get it done. Just come back next week and we'll talk more about it. I'll let you know how I feel. Either I got a victory or L. I don't know, Coach.
You'll be okay. Doesn't matter. You'll be okay.
Well, I hope everybody out there has enjoyed another exciting episode, and we'll see you guys next week. From myself, Perry White, and my man, Roger Cador. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and we'll see you more of Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White next week. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe, everybody.